Hi everybody, and welcome to this Friday's tutorial. Can you see me? It's my new setup. Hi. Well, new setup. You had to miss me last week, but I've reached up until this far. This is my Escher study. As you can see, this is all going into a one-point perspective, going all to the center point there. And we have three kinds of perspective going on here. It's awesome. We have a frog perspective where we're looking from really low upwards. We have a bird's perspective where we are high up in the sky, and a straight perspective. Now, in order to grasp what you are seeing, here is my Escher setup sketch. So you can understand what you are seeing, and the actual drawing will be twice as big as the one you are seeing now. The one you are seeing now is 80.4 by 24 centimeters, but my sketch will be 2 times as big, so it will be 36.8 by 48 centimeters. And to get an idea of how Mr. Escher was coming up with this magnificent ads, it's in meso print, but he must have drawn it first, so I'm just copying his work and trying to get inside his mind. What were you doing and how did you come up with it? Well, what he did is he took a rectangle and then he divided this into 4 parts. Then he put in the first line, and then he simply could measure out how each and every part was going to disappear into that point X in the far distance. I will explain this all for you on my Patreon page, of course. And this is the actual setup as I'm doing it on a big canson paper, because I made this drawing on newsprint paper and I was really sorry about it. So now I'm going to draw this on the gray, canson gray, and that is an exquisite pastel kind of paper. And I'm going to use the charcoal pencil and the white charcoal, and that's all. And of course a ruler and a blender stick, but I'm going to use as little material as possible. And I'm simply wanting to grasp his idea, what he was doing. Now there's a lot of going on at the moment with the coronavirus and everything, so the setup sketch can be found on my Patreon page for you for free now, so you can draw along. Maybe you are at home, just print it out and then you can maybe draw along with me or try to grasp Mr. Escher's mind, and in that way I want to help you to well, maybe see some fine way to well, do something with your spare time. Now the first setup I did with the graphite pencil, but I immediately noticed that well, the graphite is not so good to be seen on camera, but they are very easy to erase. So maybe if you're not quite sure how all the lines are going, then you can do your first setup in the graphite pencil. But let me show you what happens once you grasp your charcoal pencil. Now this has a lot more contrast, and a charcoal pencil of course is of a dry medium, while the graphite is kind of greasy and has little contrast. So that is why I chose the charcoal pencils. I prefer them anyway, and they give a much better view on camera. Now here you can already starting to see the disappearing lines, and there's a little ledge here on the side, and they all stretch towards that disappearing point. And I can simply place the ruler on the marker X in the middle there, and you can just it's a perfect way to draw your perspective. The camera's in a slight angle, so you see a slight angle here, but it's straight. I promise you, it's all straight. Whoops. And then this is a little boo-boo. Charcoal is easily erased, by the way. So a lot of people think charcoal cannot be erased, but it's very easy to erase. And now you get to see what I was measuring out and what I was trying to draw in here. Now these are the sides. So we have, actually there are 4 parts of major importance. It's the top part where we have a bird perspective. We have the bottom part where we have the frog perspective. And we have the left and the side part. And that is where the viewer is just standing straight. And this is exactly why I chose this mesoprint by Mr. Escher. Because he's always playing around with the perspective, and he is fooling with the viewer. And I love that. And you can see magnificent arches. And there are doves on ridges, and we see a crazy shaped oil lamp or something, I think it is. And Escher's doves have people faces. I'm just going to draw plain doves. It's hard enough as it is. And we have those pillars, and here we are looking from the frog perspective. So I want to draw that first for you. And we can see the belly of the dove, and we can just see the tip of the wing. And this is the leg that is standing on that ridge, and here we see part of the head, and I've drawn in a little beak, a little eye there. But you have to imagine that you are you are really looking upwards towards a high building or something, and you are on your knees and you are looking up. Now this is that oil lamp that I was telling you about, and you can also see those little, well, it's kind of like planets and stars, and you can see the universe. Now here for the 2 side parts, you can actually see a horizon. You can see the top of the moon, and you partially see the firmament, like the universe. And then again, you get to see those arches. So I'm drawing those in. I'm just freehanding them. You cannot use any ruler then anymore, so I'm simply trying to grasp those arches. And then on the side of the walls there are the pillars, and both sides here have the crazy oil lamp again, and of course the doves. Now for the top part, we are way high up in the sky, and that's the bird's perspective. And the arch is partially hidden by the wall. You can just see the thickness of the arch, like here. And then you get to see those ornaments and the pillars that go down to the ledge. Then I draw in the dove, and you can see the top, you can see upon its head, and here I draw in the beak, And I can see the wings, and I can see its back, and I can just see one paw. I draw in the eyes, and then what happens is what Mr. Escher did is that he simply repeated this image as it is disappearing into the abyss. So here, once I have those 4 planes standing there, so the bird's perspective, the frog perspective, and the straight perspective, then I can simply repeat those windows, if you like, let's call it windows, and simply start drawing them going towards the disappearing point. Now this brings us a great image of what Mr. Escher is, well, he's pulling our leg, actually. I totally love it, and I started drawing it first on newsprint paper, but I thought that was a shame because newsprint paper can't be, well, saved forever, but this scan-on paper will. So I'm doing this drawing again, and while I'm doing it again, I'm learning so much. I'm learning about the gray values and what this Mr. Escher was trying to say. Now here in the top part you can actually see upon the moon. So he draws the surface of the moon with all the craters and stuff, and there's that silly looking pigeon of mine, and so, well, this is great. And I'm simply using a blender stick to mix together the charcoal pigments. I'm kind of like drawing like a painter now, and I mix until I get the right value. But I do not touch the surface of the moon. So I'm only using the charcoal for the surface of the moon, but for the side of the walls I'm using the blender stick. And I also use the blender stick for the doves and the silly looking lamp. Now here's Mercy. Mercy's my cat. She's an OC cat and she loves it when I'm drawing. Now here for the side parts, you can see the top of the moon and you can see the universe. And I'm drawing around hi sweetie, I'm drawing around the silly looking lamp and the planets that are in there. And I'm simply drawing in those craters again. And the universe itself and the surface of the moon, I only use the charcoal. And for the side of the walls, the dove and the oil lamp, I'm using the blender stick again. Now, should you be interested in watching this in real time, it took me 3 hours in total, then you can maybe see me on Patreon. Well, okay, now we are halfway, and what you want to do next is to make copies of what we've been doing here on the left and on the above. So I'm going to continue downstairs because, well, actually my back is kind of hurting and I need to adjust to this new situation of recording. You can see my recording camera here, and well, I'm in a new kind of position, so I'm going to continue downstairs standing up, so I'm rotating my posture those kinds of things. And then for next week, we will finish off, put in the little details, put fixation on them. So I'm going to show you all. But now you have this standing, you can just continue this drawing. So I will be back with you next Friday, and then we will put a closure to this magnificent Escher drawing. So keep going. See you next week.